How are you feeling after your fight with Black Shogun for pound for pound?
Um, that fight, I wasn't really feeling 100%. I felt like there was a lot I could do better, but I'm glad that I was victorious. I definitely like to run it back because I felt like I should have did more of that fight.
Can you walk us through your mindset going into that fight?
Um, that day I was having, fun. I didn't know who I was fighting that day, and once I got in there, uh, it, it was before the Vance fight, so I was locked in on Vance, and I just wanted to catch a body before, I fought Vance.
What do you think were the key factors in your victory?
Um, my stamina. Black Shogun didn't seem to be in great shape. He seemed. I heard he was a formidable opponent in street beefs. He beat a lot of guys in devastating fashion. And that day, I saw him. He wasn't nearly as half of what I thought. From what I've heard. So I think my stamina was the determining factor, and my volume of punching. I was throwing a lot of punches. I think I had like a 12 punch combo at one point.
Did the fight go as planned, or were there any surprises?
Um, I was surprised because I've been training, and it was a moment where I felt a little gassed, and I was like, okay, why do I feel this way? But it might have been because I was juiced up off the coffee or something. I don't know.
How did you prepare physically and mentally for the fight with Black Shogun?
My mindset was set on Vance because March 8th is a big event, and I was training hard, um, days in and day and out. And I think before the fight with Black Shogun, it was um, early on in the year, so it was just beginning to pick up a lot of my workouts and training for the Vance fight. So in that, I was doing a lot of things like 2 to 3 hour training sessions immediately afterward, running miles here and there, and really just locking in for the Vance fight. Like I said, it was early on, so by the time I got to Black Shogun, it was like the early stages of training. So I had just got to picking it up. Training was always consistent. Maybe an hour, a couple hours a day, probably 1 hour a day, too, if I'm being honest. But as it started to pick up, as it got closer and closer to the advanced fight and then the Black Shogun fight, there was a lot more strenuous training, strength training, and boxing techniques.
Were there any specific strategies or tactics that you employed during that fight?
Yeah, because Black Shogun was a little bit taller. He had a pretty decent sized reach. So my goal was to maneuver past his long reach, get inside, throw a bunch of flurries, hurt him quick, and body work was the key to that. And then once I felt, his hands start to drop a little bit to get to his, to protect his body when he was tired, I'd have shot up top when I could.
What do you think set you apart from Shogun during this fight?
Um, my aggressiveness and my volume of punching. It was hard to keep up when I was just throwing a bunch of punches, and anytime I like stayed stagnant, it seemed to be like where he would gain momentum, so I would just turn up the heat again, and that would set me apart.
Are there any particular moments in the fight that stood out to you?
Um, I can't say any particular moments. My favorite moment was that 12 punch combo that I threw. I was like surprised because it was like a shotgun. And but a lot of the moments was just a lot of hard body shots that were thudding shots that you could hear that I knew was sapping his energy.
Did you have to make any adjustments during the fight?
Yeah, there was a few adjustments. Um, he was using his reach, and I I think I messed up by going in thinking that I was going to chill a little bit, and he was using his reach, so I had to adjust to that because different people use their reach in different ways. So it was like, okay, he was, backing up, moving away, utilizing the whole ring. So it was like, okay, I had to get adjusted to that because cutting the ring off was difficult because their ring, the mat was kind of bubbly. So there were certain parts of the ring that I couldn't get my footing on. So I had to adjust for that. And it was the center of the ring was hard to utilize. So I would have to try to corner him in a way where it was flat surfaces so I could move, but my movement was a little bit off due to the difficulties of the ring.
How do you plan to reflect on that victory?
Being that I was a little tired and wasn't able to throw my punches that I wanted to, I want to reflect on like just my cardio. And there was times where he could have been got that I could have got him out of there, and I just didn't execute, and I hesitated. So I wanted to reflect on how to, just reflect on the things I could do better to prepare, and just things I could do better to strategize against a taller opponent. And I think the thing that would have set, help me out is my aggressiveness and my selection of punches.
Is there anything you'd like to say to fans or supporters?
Um, I like to thank all of my Pound for Pound family and all my supporters who came out to watch that fight on the Pound for Pound channel. Stay tuned for more because Pound for Pound is bringing out a lot of great fighters, and pretty soon there's going to be a 757 to 804 clash. So for those who don't know, Pound for Pound is in Hampton in 7-5, and they've always put on a show. There's always great fighters, and I plan on beating all their great fighters and taking down a Pound for Pound champion and taking his belt. I actually want to get my rematch with Golden Touch because we had a championship fight years ago, and that ended in a decision loss for me. So I want all y'all. I want to thank you for your support and love you guys and stay tuned for more.